Many gardeners unknowingly sabotage their soil long before the season even begins. And the main culprit is something we're told is natural, organic, and good for the earth. But here's the truth. Most people don't want to say out loud, raw manure, especially when added during land preparation, can quietly wreck your structure, burn your roots, and overload your soil biology right when your garden is trying to wake up for the year. And what's worse, the damage doesn't show immediately. It creeps in over weeks, even months, until you start wondering why your plants suddenly lost their spark, why your yields dropped, and why your soil seems more compacted every season instead of less. Today, I want to break that cycle once and for all, because there's a hidden method that gives you all the benefits of manure without a single one of the dangers. And once you start using it, you may never go back to spreading raw manure again. Why raw manure causes more harm than good during land prep. For generations, manure has been treated like the gold standard of fertility. Animal waste equals nutrients, and nutrients equal growth. But the reality is a lot more complicated. Raw manure is not a stable amendment. It is biologically aggressive, chemically inconsistent, and often too hot for young roots or waking soil microbes to handle. When you add it directly during land preparation, you overload your soil with ammonium and fast-release nitrogen, which can burn tender feeder roots the moment temperatures rise and moisture moves through that upper layer. The result is stressed plants that struggle before they've even begun. Another issue is the pathogen load. Raw manure is packed with bacteria your soil doesn't want, and if you're planting edibles, especially leafy greens or root crops, you're flirting with contamination risks that should never be ignored. And then there's the compaction factor that surprises a lot of gardeners. As raw manure breaks down rapidly, it collapses on itself, reducing pore space and tightening the soil matrix. Instead of fluffier, richer beds, you end up with dense, heavy soil that drains poorly and suffocates roots. There's a safer, smarter, more regenerative way to use manure. The good news is that manure itself isn't the problem. What matters is the form. The hidden method serious soil builders rely on is simply this: compost your manure fully using a thermal hot compost process and apply it only after it has matured into stable humus. This transforms manure from a volatile substance into a deep-feeding, microbe-rich soil amendment that improves structure, moisture retention, nutrient availability, and plant resilience. When manure is composted properly, temperatures rise high enough to eliminate pathogens and weed seeds, while aerobic microbes break down the nitrogen into forms that your plants can absorb steadily without burning. Instead of releasing a violent flush of nutrients, composted manure feeds your soil slowly over weeks and months. That's the kind of fertility that encourages strong, balanced root development, instead of chaotic, explosive growth that collapses later in the season. Composted manure is the backbone of soil structure, not just fertility. One of the biggest differences you notice when switching from raw manure to composted manure is what happens to your soil structure over time. Composted manure increases aggregation, the formation of stable crumbs that give soil its ability to hold moisture while still draining well. It also fuels fungal networks that turn your soil from a loose mixture of particles into a living ecosystem that moves nutrients through your entire bed like an underground circulatory system. Raw manure disrupts this network. Composted manure feeds it. Raw manure encourages bacterial spikes. Composted manure supports fungal balance. Raw manure pushes your soil in one direction, too fast, too hot. Composted manure rebuilds it from the inside out. The ideal time to use composted manure during land preparation is, well, right before your soil wakes up, late winter or very early spring, when microbial activity is just starting to rise, but temperatures have not yet jumped. This gives your soil biology time to incorporate that organic matter gently and fully before you transplant or direct sow. You only need a modest layer because composted manure is concentrated, stable, and potent in all the right ways. Even a ½ inch to 1 inch worked lightly into the top layer is enough to condition an entire bed. If you're working with raised beds or no-dig systems, the process is even easier. Simply lay down a thin blanket of composted manure and let the worms and microarthropods pull it downward for you. No tilling, no disruption, no risk, just clean, strong fertility delivered the way nature intended. If you can't access composted manure, there's still a safe alternative. Many gardeners only have access to fresh manure, especially from small farms or their own animals. If that's you, don't worry, you're not excluded. You simply need a designated composting corner where your manure can break down for 6 to 12 months. Layer it with carbon-rich materials like leaves or straw, keep it moist, and let it heat. This turns waste into gold. It also ensures you never again dump raw manure into your beds where it does its worst damage. Your soil deserves amendments that work with it, not against it. Once you switch from raw manure to the composted version, your plants respond differently. They grow deeper roots, hold moisture better, stand stronger through heat waves, and produce more consistently. Your soil darkens, softens, and becomes easier to work with every year. Worms return. Beneficial fungi increase. Nutrients cycle naturally instead of being forced. All this happens because you gave your soil something stable instead of something volatile. You fed the ecosystem, not just the plants. And that's the key difference between modern land preparation and regenerative land stewardship. If this helped you rethink how you handle manure in your garden, make sure you subscribe and share this with another gardener who needs it. Together we can grow smarter, cleaner, richer soil, one season at a time.